What is your viewpoint about the service that you are offering? Do you bring a tremendous amount of value to the table that can save people incredible amounts of money, incredible amounts of heartache, get them moving on with their life? Welcome back to Life at 10 Tenths, where we inspire you to live at the pinnacle of your ability and purpose. Matt Benelli is with me, Garrett Fry, and we are excited to be jumping into a new episode with you today. We're going to talk about why, well, this is Matt, you picked this topic, which I love, which basically is your clientele is a reflection of your viewpoint, is what you said to me. And I was like, this is a really interesting place to look at. Why do I attract certain people in? Why do I get certain types of business? And there's a lot of aspects to this, but simplifying it down to like, who are you? Because maybe you are attracting in more of you.
People are like, are you saying that I'm not the person that I want to be attracting?
Well, there might be some elements of like your belief system might be attracting in certain people, and a lot of it might be your belief system about how things work.
Yeah. Well, I'm particularly in the industry that we focus on in real estate, right, Garrett? Because, welcome everybody who's listening in. Most of you are real estate agents, and you guys know that like when you are hired to do a job, you're getting paid a big check. Now, it's not about what people make as an income that I'm talking about here, but each check that comes in, whether it's to you or to your brokerage, it goes to the brokerage. I understand. I'm not talking about what you make from it, but most of the time, people are writing five-figure checks, right? For helping buy or sell a house. That's a lot of money, right? Because like our average everyday transactions are like in the $10 to $15 range, maybe. It used to be a little less than that, but then all of a sudden coffee got crazy expensive, Garrett. Goodness gracious.
I stay away. I can't even imagine having that habit, by the way, because it is the amount of money spent on coffee is ridiculous. Keep going.
There's an advantage to working from home because it's just like, the coffee pot at home. But so when we look at this, like this is high ticket sales, this is high ticket service, all of these things. And there's a lot of belief systems that come around when spending a lot of money. And there's also a lot of sales strategies and systems that are deployed into industries like real estate and other sales industries that involve high ticket, like car sales, right?
Yep.
And you look at that and you say, okay, if I am going to now go and deploy a strategy that I would not buy from, I'm going to have a really tough time selling that because the person that I am selling to is me, right? You're going to find more people who are resistant to your method because you're resistant to your method. And hopefully we're not resistant to our own service and product, but that is another issue that we probably should address as well when we go into this.
It's interesting. I look at it, Matt, as like, so I have a background as a real estate agent. I am not a licensed realtor right now. But at the same point, when I was a licensed realtor and I needed to sell a property, there's a lot of people that go, oh, thank goodness I don't have to pay those fees because I don't have to hire a realtor. I can just do this myself. I can save money on this and all that stuff. My brain was always I'm bringing a realtor in. And I'm bringing a realtor in because of the value of a real estate agent and a third-party negotiator and having somebody in between me and the other side. And it will save me the money. I will get that money back having a really good person in that battleground with me. And I think that side of it is that you start to look at like, as we go into these changes in the industry and we have certain real estate agents that are like, well, they're going to do it without us if they have the option to do it without us. Really? Like, I don't think they will. Like, that's me personally. But if you believe that, by the way, you might have a lot of people in your surroundings that are like, hey, dude, really appreciate it. I know you're a real estate agent, but I'm going to go do this myself because I know that I can now. And it's not that they caused it. It's just that sometimes when we have that belief that we could do it on our own, if we wanted to do it on our own, we're going to find people that are kind of in that exact same territory. When you look at people that are willing to pay, these commissions and you're going, well, like, gosh, I don't know, like that's a lot of money. And you're having a hard time justifying what, by the way, if you're having a hard time justifying it, you're going to have a hard time really helping somebody understand where the value is of it. So it's like all these pieces, we wonder if we are the cause of attracting in this situation or this issue that's going on. And there are certain people out here right now, certain agents that I'm working and seeing that have way more baggage coming along with the changes that are going on, and ones that are like, yeah, cool, got it. No problem, moving forward. My clients, by the way, they have no issue paying me. And the other ones are like, oh, I'm really running up against some roadblocks. It's like, well, what's the difference? Like,
Yeah.
what's changed? What's different here?
Well, and what's interesting is you take not only the energy of attraction, but then like how are you actually conversing with people? Like your non-conscious brain and your conscious brain will take over and drive the conversation in a way that could put a halt to an opportunity. I recently discovered this a little bit with myself. Actually, I have an accountability partner that we were reviewing each other's like conversations and just talking about like, okay, how could we direct these conversations better to heighten the level of service and opportunity? And he was reviewing one of mine. He was like, well, you just ended the conversation right there. And I was like looking at it. And at the time I was like, oh, this is a natural point to kind of just progress on to the next thing kind of thing. And he's like, well, you just kind of ended it by saying this thing here. And I was like, you know what? Now that I'm looking at it, you're right. And it wasn't that I was going to go into a hard sales mode or anything like that. There was just another question I could have asked to keep the conversation going, and I didn't. And a lot of times it's because, and what was probably happening at the time for me was, I don't want to seem pushy. I don't want to seem salesy. I don't want, I don't know this person super well, but I do want to help them. But I'm just going to distance myself a little bit, because if I was in his shoes, I would maybe think the same thing. And what's interesting is since changing that, all the people who come at me and ask questions and everything, I'm having a lot better conversations with them too, even if I'm not buying their product and they're enjoying it too. And that is something that it's hard to get over because it needs to be kind of put in our face a little bit, Garrett. Like we need to understand, because we'll see people all the time, even just with basic questions, be like, well, I don't really like asking that, or I don't like doing that. Like when you're interviewing to go on a listing appointment, we always say, hey, ask them, like, are they interviewing other agents? Yep. Well, I don't want to do that because that seems like I'm being pushy, or, it could be going a little too deep or anything like this. But it's like, but wouldn't that be good information to know? And if you're offended by that question, it's like we just have to rework the mindset around that, so that when we say it, it comes off different. Because if we say it and we think it's salesy, it's going to come off salesy.
I have a gentleman that I coach. He is so worried about coming across as salesy that he literally will. By the way, it actually, there is an advantage, because I've watched him grow his business doing this, because he will basically make it so much about the client, so much about what is right for them right now, and kind of go like, whatever, like, here's the right thing. Your right thing is not to sell right now. He's talked himself out of a lot of sales, which is, when I say it can be a good thing.
But that could be the right thing at the time. It's not about trying to get somebody to do something. It's about trying to understand and build the relationship.
And this is the difference. This is why I wanted to share this, is that he's got this mentality of like, I got to do what's right for the client. Always, always, always what's right for the client. At the same point, part of that, there's a little baggage built around it of never, ever, ever be salesy. And we've had to start to unpack, well, what is salesy? Like, where does the line cross? Is the line cross when you just say, would you like help with that? Like, are you, I mean, seriously. And
such a simple question that nobody asks.
And that question for him, when I brought it up, was like, he said, I don't ever ask that. And the reason we went down this path was he was looking at a handful of listings that were sitting in front of him this last year. He never asked that question, and he lost them. And they went and listed with somebody else. And he was like, well, how do I get better at my process and my presentation when I'm doing my listing? And I went through everything, and it was spot on, every single piece. Like I was like trying to dissect it on a coaching call, just going, okay, what about this? And he would answer it perfectly. And I'm like, okay, how are you doing this? He would answer it perfectly. And at the very end of it, I'm like, did you ask for the business? And it was this silence. And he goes, I don't do that. Because I let them go and like process the information and let me know what they want to do. I was like, okay, there's an element to that. I understand and I appreciate that. But at some point there, you have to ask. And I guarantee you at some point, he did not like the way that somebody did that or how it might have felt. And he's just kind of going, okay, you know what? I'm not going to do that to other people. I don't like that done to me. I'm not doing it to them. But he pulled back too far. And I think this is where, when we're getting this certain type of people coming into our world, instead of going like, oh my gosh, I'm attracting maybe these types of people too, I think we also have to look at it as, am I creating a situation myself? And that's where this person was at, is like trying to protect himself so much. He was creating the situation for these other people. And it's like, yeah, it's like you might be responsible for this. We're in the middle of working on that right now. We're going to see how this little, just having that little, would you like my help with that? Or,
I think
how'd
he's
that
going to
work?
see a massive transformation because this is so crucial. Like this little part is so critical because that's where the belief systems come out. The belief systems don't come out in how you create your pre-listing packet and how you structure your consultations because you're putting your best foot forward in those things. And you're like, I want to make sure I show them all the things that I do. You're putting all the best operations in there, but we're not getting to the critical question of, would you like some help with that? Would you like me to help you with that? Right. And those are tough conversations. Don't get me wrong. They're not easy. And we all have had the bad conversations with somebody and we don't like them. But if we have become so resistant to them that we just don't like sales at all, which by the way, even people who don't like sales are sold quote unquote every day through great conversation and identifying of needs and desires and being presented solutions to their problem, and they buy all the time. But we don't notice it because it wasn't, I went to them, right? That's one thing I get too, Garrett, is, well, I don't want to chase people. I just want them to come to me. They should just want to come to me. I have the great website. I have all the things. They should just come to me. And it's like, it doesn't really work like that, particularly when we're in an industry that is very high ticket and is very relationship based.
Yep.
Because people want to be able to trust the person. They're not just going to click and be like, yep. Well, I mean, sometimes they do because they don't have a relationship. But if that's what you're going for, those people probably also not running great lead gen campaigns either.
Well, and going back to your clientele is a reflection of your viewpoint. Like, and that's the reason I brought up this gentleman is like, this is where it's like, we're trying to figure out how to change the outcome that's happening on this side. But I think a lot of times we have to look at what is our viewpoint of where we're coming at this thing from and the results that I'm seeing around me. And these results you're seeing and you're going, I'm not happy with this. I'm not happy with what's going on here. Like the minute you understand where you are coming from, that probably will open up some doors right there to go like, oh, all right, this is what I don't like that when it's done to me. So I'm avoiding this. So I'm not asking these questions, not doing this thing. Or maybe I relate to certain types of people. And I remember when I was in that tough situation and I was struggling financially and I want to help those people out. And at the same point, you're like, why do I always bring in people that don't have any money and can't figure out their finances right now? And it's just like, why do they always keep coming to me? And well, because you're probably looking for them out there. Like you're literally going and finding these people. We watch it in coaching all the time when I used to run the bigger coaching program. We would have certain coaches that are like, why do I always have people that are having relationship issues? And I'm like, because you attract in people that are having relationship issues. Like that's what you go look for. It's fascinating, but they would complain about it, but it's literally the piece that they have as their what they're bringing to the table.
Well, we see it with realtors that hang around the water cooler and talk about how bad the market is, right? And then they might attract some business opportunities, but their clients are like, yeah, I don't know if we're gonna sell. Like I think we do, or I don't know if we're gonna buy. Like
Well, Matt, you got to bring a good story to the water cooler next week. You got to go find the worst of the worst out there so you can come back and be like, you think you got a bad one? Let me tell you what I found last week.
Let me tell you about this guy who saw 15 homes yesterday and didn't like any of them. And what's interesting is it is the viewpoint, not your current status. Because some people will then blame, well, like I can't attract the right people because I'm not in that financial place anymore. Or maybe I am struggling with a relationship behind the scenes. It's like, that's okay. What's going on in your life isn't necessarily the things that are bringing it in. It's your viewpoint and your belief system that are bringing those things into your life.
Yep.
So if we change the viewpoint, life will start to change. It might be longer on the back end, the personal side, if you're dealing with some challenges there. It can be a lot quicker on the front end side, the customer service side, the sales side, because if you truly change your belief system and say, you know what, I'm not going to be the victim. I am going to be the player, and I am going out with this mindset of service. And if I don't ask enough questions for this person, I might not have the opportunity to serve them. And that would just be such a shame because it would be so great to be able to work together.
Might be interesting, Matt, to sit down and actually write down and say, okay, so what is my viewpoint? Let's say, okay, let's just write down first-time home buyers. What's my viewpoint?
Yeah.
People that own homes over $1 million, viewpoint. People that own homes over $5 million, what's my viewpoint? people that have had bankruptcies in the past, maybe or have had financial, stress in their life. What's my viewpoint on it? People that have gone through a divorce. What's my viewpoint? People that maybe vote differently than I do. What's my viewpoint? Like there might be a whole list that you can kind of go, okay, this is my viewpoint. I tend to attract people in that will back up this viewpoint because I've decided that this is what these things are. And is my viewpoint correct? Like maybe I picked up bad information somewhere along the way. Maybe I didn't mean to throw in the voting thing, but we might as well have it on the table. But like,
might as well. I think it's a good one too, because we get these opinions of people, which interestingly dramatically change if we learn something about them.
Oh, it's amazing.
And then we apply that to an emotional system. It's like, okay, here's something that has happened in this person. They own this or they do this. And then we apply like, okay, what is your viewpoint on people who are slow decision makers? About people who are fast decision makers? What about people who are fast decision makers, but then backtrack, right? What's your viewpoint on home inspections? What's your viewpoint on asking questions related to, can I help you with this?
How about
and
pre-home inspection?
Write all those things down.
Like I just had a conversation with somebody the other day, and it's funny. It's like I'll have one person that go, pre-home inspections are the number one best thing. I've been doing them for 10 years, and I have them in every part of my business, and they literally have saved my clients so much turmoil and so much headache. And then you have other people that are like, yeah, I did that once, and it blew up in my face. Never again. I will never touch them again. It's like, okay, so we obviously have a different viewpoint of what these things can do.
Well, and I think a great question when it comes to things like that is like, would you pre-inspect your own house if you were listing it for sale, right? Would you get the top end photography? Would you do this, this, and this? I did all those things when I sold my house. Was that 2 years ago? Almost 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And
grown up, Matt.
And it worked. Like, I was like, great. Like, and it was because I believe that. I'm like, I coach people to this. Of course I believe this. Of course I'm going to go do this for my own home. Why would I not do that for my own home? Because this is what I'm advising people.
You got an iPhone.
Got an iPhone. Funny enough, the photographer did shoot the video for my house on an iPhone. So he has all this amazing camera equipment, taking these beautiful photos, and then he pulls out like a DJI, like kind of stability thing, and attaches his iPhone to it. I'm like, oh, that's how you do the video? He goes, yeah, it's the best video quality out there.
So he's like, just close your eyes, look away while I do this. This
is amazing. This is incredible. So I would also put it this way. I would also so you write down all these belief systems, your viewpoints on this stuff, right? Mm-hmm. The next thing I do is I'd audit yourself. Like think back to document your conversations as best you can. If you do, I think text-based for me was easy to see because it's all there, right? We don't necessarily have the documentation of a phone call or something like that. But after you go through things, if you're not getting a sale or you are, take some notes as soon as you get out of that consultation on like what happened, what was said, what were the questions asked. Don't analyze how did it go, just write down all the things, right? What questions did I ask? What did they say? How did I ask the next question? Then come back a day or 2 days later and analyze it and be like, hey, did I shut this down? When Garrett said, yeah, we're thinking about maybe selling sometime in the spring. Did I say, oh, cool, great, awesome. Well, let's maybe connect up in the spring. And did I close that door, or did I say, awesome, great, why are you waiting until the spring? Tell me more about what means the best for you in the spring. Is it the best timing for you to sell at that point? And you can then go see and understand, oh, okay, I can just change my conversation a little bit, which is nothing to do with me being pushy or salesy. It's all about how can I better serve the person that's sitting or standing right in front of me.
I've always gone back to like the best thing you can find is a better question to ask. Like that is really where you need to be digging in all the time. And it's not salesy. It's being intrigued. It's being, you want to learn more about this person that's sitting here in front of you. And people naturally gravitate to people that want to learn about them. It's kind of a natural thing. If you go out to a dinner with friends, the person that's typically doing a lot of talking normally is usually somebody that has been being asked questions to, and somebody keeps saying, and then all of a sudden that person is sitting there going, oh my gosh, I've been here talking the whole time. I haven't even touched my food yet. Well, Every once in a while, it's somebody that just wants to talk. But for the most part, it's because somebody's been asking them questions over and over and over again. And somebody else asks them a question about that. And somebody else asks them a question. And you'll sit there and let your whole meal go cold while you're sitting there talking to somebody and sharing all the information. And I've actually been caught in the question situation a long time ago, Matt. I was reconnecting with a friend. We were actually, I'll actually, it'll kind of date me here. It was on MySpace. I remember very clearly as we were kind of bantering back and forth on MySpace. And the conversation just ended. And I was like, trying to figure out what was going on because it just stopped. And I was like, So like I wrote back and I said, hey, and I forget what I said, but he responded back with, you didn't ask a question. Like you were waiting for an answer. He goes, look, read back to what you wrote. You never asked a question. So I thought we were done. I was like, you're right. I didn't ask a question. We just let this thing fall on its face. And you wonder how many people in a listing presentation and in a buyer's consultation let somebody walk away. And it really is on this conversation's done. And so that person's then left in this situation where they're roaming around out there going, well, I guess we're not moving forward with that agent. So maybe we should talk to this agent over here. Like, cause I feel like this is kind of over.
I wonder how often that does happen. Just what you just said.
Cause we're just being nice on our end. We're trying to be nice, but we've literally closed the conversation and we don't even realize that we might've done it.
Well, I think that kind of, for me, brings up kind of the big viewpoint of is what we're talking about here, the practicing this skill development. A lot of people will look at that and be like, that is salesy because I am learning how to then just keep going in a conversation in order to potentially win a piece of business. And it's like, okay, that viewpoint is the viewpoint. And if you felt that during this conversation, like that's the viewpoint we need to look at and adjust because as a coach, like Garrett and I get served all the ads for sales. Like my Facebook and Instagram is littered with all the different people selling their sales strategies and all this stuff. And I watch them because I'm like, I want to learn and understand what are they doing. I want to see how they structure their ads. Sometimes I go to their landing page, sign up for their newsletters. Let's see how they converse. And I used to not do that before sales, way before sales, because I was like, I don't want to be sold. I don't want to be sold. But now I get to look at it and be like, oh, it's all about just moving the conversation along. Of course, people want to have a sale. Everybody here listening wants to have another listing. Mm-hmm. That's okay. You can want those things. When you understand the strategy, you actually get to serve in a much better way so that the people that actually buy from you get way more value than you even expect.
Well, this is, again, understanding your value. And so this all goes back to where you started this, Matt, of like, what is your viewpoint about the service that you are offering? And where is it just a job? Are you just trying to make another sale? Is this what we do is just trying to get people to potentially buy or sell with us? Or do you bring a tremendous amount of value to the table that can save people incredible amounts of money, incredible amounts of heartache, get them moving on with their life to this next place that they're going to be able to get to? And part of my thing is like, life is short. Like we have limited time here. And if you want to spend 2 years trying to figure out how you want to sell your house and maybe we should paint the walls, maybe we should do the carpet, or if you want to have an expert come in and go, hey, by the way, guys, you don't need to worry about that stuff. Like, I know you think this stuff is all really important, but the real important thing right now is you guys need to move along. You need to take that next step. And I'm here just to help kind of like figure out what needs to be done, what doesn't need to be done so you can move forward with your life. Because I guarantee you, you're not going to look back and go, thank goodness we stayed here for 2 years trying to figure out what the wall color should be interior wise. But it's not salesy to sit back and ask more questions and to figure out where they're at and to figure out because you might find at the end of that, you know what? It is the right thing for you to stay here. It is the right place, but you don't know unless you ask more questions and you dig in. And this viewpoint of like trying to protect yourself from being salesy, that's one to break down. That is one to like really dissect and figure out where does that come from for me? Is it something that was told to me? Is it something that I learned from my parents? Is it something that happened to me at some point? I'm like, I'm never doing that to somebody. We've all had a hard close put on us. It's not fun. We know we don't like it. And I think that finding that place in there of what is being a guide and helping people and what is being a closer. And by the way, closers get the job done at some point. It's just more of a sledgehammer than it is a, you know, a
It's
light
just
kind
got
of
this
like,
name to it that just sounds cringy, but like there's a reason why they're called closers, right?
they come in and button everything up. And a lot of times a really good closer too isn't forcing somebody in to make a decision. They're coming in and they're really good at putting the right questions on the table at the right time so people can go, oh, you know what we need to do? Because usually any good really selling situation, there's still that person that has to say, I want to move forward with this. I want to take this next step. Every once in a while, you'll find a person that goes, I was tricked into it. That's none of our intention. Anybody who's listening to this right now, that is not our intention to trick somebody into selling their home. That is not what this is about. It's finding out where they want to go and helping them get there.
No, there's no tricks. And you're right. The best closers are the one who have the most happy clients too, right?
Yeah.
They have the people who are like, man, Garrett was so amazing. Like everything was just wonderful because they know that they actually are delivering on a solution to someone's pain or pleasure.
I know that word closer makes everybody kind of go like, whoa, that word just,
I know,
whoa.
just throw up a little bit in my mouth.
I have baggage with
that
it.
goes to the viewpoint, right? That goes right back to like, what is your viewpoint? And is that attracting the clientele that you want? Because if you change your viewpoint on that, it's like, okay, I'm going to now disassociate that word with throwing up a little bit in my mouth. And I'm going to associate it with, hey, there are some people out there who are kind of aggressive and it's not my style, but you know what? The idea of closing and being able to deliver on a promise to someone, deliver on a solution that could change someone's life. Yeah, that's what I'm about.
Yeah. So I like this topic, Matt. I think it's and it really at the end of the day, we're not telling you to be closers. We're not telling you. We use the example of somebody who is maybe letting somebody kind of walk away without basically asking simply, hey, would you like my help with that? That's how we kind of went down this path. And I think for the most part, this viewpoint is like, look at anything you're attracting in, the type of clientele, the type of people you're working with, and just ask yourself, what is my viewpoint around that? And maybe I am actually finding people like that out there. I think that's the biggest takeaway that I want people to have out of this episode is that am I attracting in sometimes the things that resonate with me, even though they're maybe not the things that I want to have?
100% agree. Absolutely.
I like this topic, man.
Me too, man. Well, thank you, Garrett, and thank you everybody for tuning in. We so appreciate you. If you do get value out of these episodes like this, share it out. Share it with somebody who you think would also get some value out of it. And if you are getting value out of it and you're thinking, hey, you know what? I'd like to get some more of what Matt and Garrett have going on. Good news. We have a place where you can go, and it's called the 11 Circle. That's our coaching program. We also have kind of a starter membership into Life at 10 Tenths where you get access into our community where we have Monday mindsets and book insights and all this other really fun stuff we kind of set up for podcast listeners. We're like, hey, we want to give something a little bit more for podcast listeners, kind of like a little premium access. But just go check out lifeat10tenths.com. You can see everything there, or you can shoot us a message. We'd love to have a conversation with you if that's something that you would prefer. And most importantly, if you love this, just keep listening because we love doing this. Like we do this because this is fun. This is not what we get paid to do. We've been doing this, Garrett, since we started podcasting together in 2018, started releasing them in 2019. And we had a blast of building up that other podcast. And now we're doing this and it's just so much fun. So we hope you guys appreciate it. And thank you for tuning in.
Yep. Thank you so much. We appreciate you guys and look forward to seeing you down the road.